Well, America just got hit with a 1-2 punch you're not going to believe. On the one hand, Ilhan Omar, the so-called woman of the people, just got caught hiding a mind-blowing fortune, $30 million. That's right. The same congresswoman who told us that she was barely scraping by, paying off student loans, now sitting on a pile of cash that is so big you would think she won the lottery. But she didn't win the lottery. She won Washington, guys. She won Washington, D.C. And guess what? You paid for it. That's right. So while Ilhan Omar hides her millions out in our streets, is another storm that just hit overnight. ICE, under President Donald Trump's orders, unleashing what locals are calling the deportation fleet. These are unmarked vans that are rolling in entire neighborhoods of fugitives cleared out in just 2 hours flat. It was unbelievable. Activists are screaming, their flags are burning, riots are breaking out. But you know what, guys? For the first time in years, sanctuary cities are being cleaned out. Now, this isn't just politics anymore. This is the raw truth of two Americas colliding. Elites in D.C. stuffing their pockets while everyday families live in fear, and a president that is finally sending in the cavalry to take our streets back. Now, if you support President Trump, drop a 47 in the comments down below. Matter of fact, if you really support Trump, drop a 45 and a 47 in the comments. And so tonight we're asking, how did Ilhan Omar go from negative $45,000 in debt to $30 million in secret wealth? Now, we also need to ask, who in the world is bankrolling her husband's sketchy venture firm? And what really went down as ICE tore through sanctuary cities overnight? Guys, we need to talk about a lot of things. Hit the like button, subscribe. All right, so the contrast couldn't be any more clear. On the one side, we got President Donald J. Trump rebuilding this country brick by brick. Jobs are returning. The streets are finally being cleaned out. And of course, laws being restored. But on the other side, you've got Democrats like Ilhan Omar hiding fortunes, $30 million, guys, fueling sanctuary chaos and lying to the American people about pretty much everything with a straight face. So this is the double crisis we're facing. While Ilhan Omar is hiding $30 million, you've got sanctuary cities. They're absolutely collapsing under mass deportations. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how these two stories connect, because this isn't just corruption at the top. This is destruction in our neighborhoods. All right, so let's start with Ilhan Omar's money, shall we? Because it stinks to high heaven. Remember in 2019 when Ilhan Omar, she said she was in the hole, negative $45,000, flat broke. That was 2019, okay? Keep that date in your mind. Now, fast forward today, she's sitting on a fortune of $30 million. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a calculus major or anything like that, but it's 2025. That was 2019. What's that, 6 years? How did she go from negative $45,000 to $30 million? Can anybody help me understand that? I know she's a politician. Did someone pad her pockets? How in the world does she do this? Now, according to her own disclosures reported by the New York Post and the Washington Times, her husband's firm, Rose Lake Capital, magically went from pocket change to tens of millions of dollars in just 2 years. Guys, we're talking about a mysterious $3,500% increase. I don't know about you, but that's not success. That's a little suspicious. And get this, guys, their website claims that they're managing $50 billion in assets. $50 billion. That would put them right up there with Wall Street giants. But instead, it's a no-name firm tied to a congresswoman who denied being a millionaire just a few months ago. So she then went on record saying that she was still just a mom paying off student loans. Now she's richer than most CEOs. I don't know about you, but I don't know if the math is mathing here. Does that make sense to you guys? What's really going on? So here's the hypocrisy. Ilhan Omar plays victim in interviews, but in reality, she's cashing in on the very system that she pretends to fight. And the American people, well, we're left holding the bag. So, but hang on, guys, because the story only gets darker. Ilhan Omar's secret millions are not just about money. They're actually tied to some shady businesses, conflicts of interest, and global networks that look an awful lot like money laundering. Now, here, all of this is going on while she's hiding her fortune. ICE agents are out in the streets facing down activists, flags burning, cars are blocking the roads. Entire neighborhoods are being cleared overnight. Now, every year, seniors lose thousands of dollars because of unnecessary premiums, uncovered prescriptions, and of course, outdated plans. This is kind of like a leak in your retirement bucket. Money is draining while you're not even looking. It's really not fair. This is exactly why I partner with Chapter. They find the leaks, they seal them, and then they put the money back in your pocket. I mean, it's really just, it's like a good Samaritan. You know what I mean? Anyway, Lisa Taylor, she was one of them. She ended up saving over $1,000 in just 1 year after Chapter reviewed her plan. Absolutely a godsend. So here's the question. Are you going to let money just keep leaking away out of your accounts? Or are you going to do what most people are already doing? Calling Chapter to stop it? Well, most people are calling the phone number at the bottom of the screen right now. And if they're not doing that, they're going directly to the website at askchapter.org/Ron. Phone number is 909-563-8279. And of course, the service is completely free to the Ron Yates community. Tell my friends over at Chapter that you've said hello, or that I said hello. Anyway, of course, you're going to say hello. You're calling them. Anyway, so now I want to dig into the businesses that are tied to Ilhan Omar's so-called fortune, okay? Because this is where the whole thing goes from suspicious to downright dirty. Now, her husband's firm, Rose Lake Capital, doesn't just claim to manage billions. It advertises itself as providing expertise in structuring legislation. Now, think about that for a second, guys. A venture capital firm that makes money by advising on legislation. And then her spouse, the spouse of the founder, just so happens to be a sitting member of Congress. That would be Ilhan Omar. So this is not entrepreneurship. That sounds like influence peddling, dressed up in a three-piece suit, right? It almost sounds like the same game plan, or at least very similar game plan, as Nancy Pelosi and her husband, Paul Pelosi. Are you guys seeing the connection here? Anyway, so it doesn't stop there. So alongside this shadowy firm, Ilhan Omar and her husband, they also own a winery. This winery is valued at up to $5 million in her latest disclosures. Now, that might not sound like huge numbers in Washington terms, but ask yourself, guys, how does a congresswoman of Muslim faith, whose religion traditionally prohibits alcohol, end up profiting off of a wine business? It doesn't, I don't know if it, y'all let me know. Does this add up to you? If it doesn't add up, just say it doesn't add up, okay? Because unless, of course, the winery isn't about wine at all. It's about laundering money through a legitimate business front while the real cash comes in through back channels, perhaps. I don't know. Critics are already sounding the alarm. You got Mike Benz. He's a former State Department official who now calls out corruption. Said it best. Either the dumbest members of Congress are smarter than the smartest people in Wall Street, or Wall Street has simply gotten more clever at money laundering. And so in Ilhan Omar's case, you don't have to guess which one it is. So this isn't rags to riches. This is pay to play politics, plain and simple. And so while Ilhan Omar and her family enrich themselves through these shady outfits, you got the communities that she's representing, they're collapsing, which kind of brings us to what happened just last night. So while Ilhan Omar was counting her millions and, doing a Donald Duck dive into the cash and into the coins, ICE was busy rolling into the sanctuary cities overnight. And what happened on those streets looked more like a war zone than America. Now, picture this, guys. You got unmarked vans rolling up real fast just before dawn. ICE agents flooding the neighborhood, pulling fugitives out of apartments and corner stores. And the reaction, absolute chaos. Activists pouring into the streets, blocking traffic, leaving cars abandoned to scream at federal agents. Now, they weren't waving American flags, folks. No, they were waving Mexican flags. They were shredding our flag, mocking this country while chanting for open borders. And here's a part that nobody in mainstream media or the press is going to admit. They weren't out there to protect families. They weren't out there for the children. They were there to shield criminal fugitives, gang members, convicted thieves, people with prior deportation orders. That's who ICE was targeting. And yet the streets filled with professional agitators screaming, "Hands off," while federal agents tried to do their jobs. Agents had to literally lock down ICE detention centers with fencing to keep the mobs from storming the gates. Now, think about that. We had a wall. We had to build a wall around our own federal facilities because, activists just kept trying to break in and free the criminals. And so these are the same people who are screaming that walls don't work. Well, guess what, guys? Last night, the walls worked just fine. So here's the cruel irony, okay? While activists riot in the streets, while fugitives are hauled off in buses, Ilhan Omar is sitting very comfortably behind her mansion walls, counting $30 million in wealth that she told the world she didn't have. And folks, it only gets worse from here, because what happened in the streets last night didn't end at a protest. In fact, it escalated into these full-blown raids at local businesses, including a car wash and a day labor center where ICE rounded up fugitives with rap sheets a mile long. So if you thought the streets protests were bad, wait until you hear what just went down at Studio City's hand car wash rather. It started as a normal morning, employees washing cars, putting tire shine on the rims and vacuuming and putting a little smell good spray in the car, customers waiting in line. Okay. Normal day. Then, out of nowhere, unmarked ICE vehicles stormed the lot. Agents were jumping out, keys in hand, and within seconds, workers were scattering. I mean, some ran into closets, crying, convinced that they would lose everything. And customers were stranded because detained employees had the car keys in their pockets. And so they're getting detained with the customer's car keys in the pockets. The customer can't go on to work. They're cut. Anyway, it was a big, huge mess. And so now the media ran with that clip, painting it like ICE was heartless, dragging away hardworking people. But here's what they leave out. Why were they working illegally at a car wash in the first place? Why were criminals hiding in plain sight, earning paychecks in sanctuary cities that promised them protection? The answer is simple: because politicians like Ilhan Omar told them that they could do that. And it didn't stop there. Just a few hours later, ICE hit a day labor center near Home Depot. Gas canisters were fired. Fugitives tried to run. Some fell, got up, tried to resist, and still got hauled away anyway. Agents weren't targeting families. They were going after the convicted criminals. DHS later confirmed it. So these arrests included people guilty of grand theft, people with prior deportation orders, even individuals tied to violent gangs. This wasn't random. This wasn't reckless. This was targeted enforcement. And yet, what do activists scream? Oh, they're just innocent workers. No, innocent workers don't run from ICE. Innocent workers don't hide behind cars or riot in the streets. The people ICE picked up had rap sheets that should have really been gone a long time ago. And so this kind of brings us to the bigger picture here, guys. Like, these raids, they weren't just some one-off sittings. They were part of President Trump's nationwide crackdown. The media is calling the deportation fleet. This is what they're kind of nicknaming the ICE agents that are doing the dirty work here. And they're really not wrong. Unmarked vans, buses, coordinated sweeps. It is all designed to clear out sanctuary cities that have been allowed to fester for years. I mean, just look at the numbers. You got Governor Kristi Noem says federal law enforcement has already made over 5,000 arrests this year. I mean, we're talking about criminals, not dreamers, not students, not moms, criminals, murderers, kidnappers, gang members, all off the streets, out of our neighborhoods. And this is the contrast that America is staring at right now. Donald J. Trump delivering safety and sovereignty versus Democrats like Ilhan Omar enriching themselves with millions while their own districts are drowning in crime and corruption. Ilhan Omar hides money, ICE hauls fugitives. That's really the story for America 2025. But here's the real kicker. So while Trump's deportation fleet protects our families, everyday Americans are still footing the bill for the sanctuary handouts. Migrants getting free rent, free stamps, free food stamps, cash. Meanwhile, taxpayers are struggling. And Ilhan Omar, she is pocketing millions of dollars on the side. So here's the part that's going to piss you off. So while Ilhan Omar's husband's firm magically turns pocket change into $30 million, American taxpayers are footing the bill for sanctuary giveaways. Guys, we're talking about migrants in cities like Chicago and Los Angeles being handed thousands in benefits. Reports show that they're walking away with $15,000 in food stamps, $5,000 in cash, and up to 2 years of free rent, all while Americans can barely keep up with inflation. I mean, some of these folks are getting way more money than the average Social Security recipient. Guys, families who lived there for generations are being crushed by grocery bills, gas prices, and skyrocketing rents. But illegals are being rewarded just for showing up. So do you see the insult? Americans, they lose safety, they lose jobs and dignity. Meanwhile, the elites are cashing in. Ilhan Omar hides her millions while hardworking citizens are being told, tighten your belts, cut back here and there. Families are being told to sacrifice. Veterans are told that there's no money for their benefits, but somehow, there's always money for illegals and always millions available for politicians who know how to play the system. So I don't know about you, but this doesn't seem like compassion. It seems more like corruption. It's theft, plain and simple. And if you feel angry right now, good. That anger is what they fear the most. So now the backlash is really starting to boil over, guys. Even in cities that used to be Democratic strongholds, the people are starting to rise up. Look at Chicago, for example. You got Mayor Brandon Johnson. He's being blasted in town halls by his own residents. They're furious that while their neighborhoods are crumbling, while shooters and shootings are soaring, he's spending taxpayer money to house illegals and to defend criminals. People are standing up in front of him and saying, hey, look, man, we have voted Democrat for 60 years and got nothing. Flip Chicago red. And you can feel the betrayal in their voices. So here's where where is Ilhan Omar through all this? That's what we should really be asking. Hiding in the background, counting her millions, letting AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and Gavin Newsom dominate the news cycle while she stays quiet. Why? Because she knows if she opens her mouth, the spotlight goes straight back to her hidden fortune. But it's not just Chicago or Minneapolis anymore. Look at Virginia, guys. Democrats are openly defending sanctuary chaos. Abigail Spanberger, running for governor, has already promised to undo Trump's deportation orders. This means releasing criminals back into communities, undoing ICE sweeps, and rolling out the red carpet for more chaos in a purple state. That is political suicide, and it shows how deeply this corruption runs. You also got to ask, why would you go out of your way to release the criminals that taxpayers have now spent money rounding up? It doesn't make any sense. The political fallout isn't coming. It is already here. And Democrats are about to find out the hard way that Americans have had enough. And so it all ties together in the one brutal truth here, guys. Ilhan Omar's millions and sanctuary chaos, they're part of the same corrupt machine. So I want to step back just for a second. You're going to see that this is not just about one congresswoman or one night of ICE raids. This is really about a machine, a system of corruption that just runs on money, it runs on votes and power. So Ilhan Omar's sudden millions, they're not an accident. They're part of the same system that fuels sanctuary cities, that rewards illegals with benefits, and that leaves ordinary Americans behind. Her husband's firm, bragging about deep global networks in 80 countries. Are you serious? That's not venture capital. That is a global political racket. The same kind of setup that we saw with the Clinton Global Initiative, where elites and foreign donors funnel money through these projects while cashing in on influence. And so while that machine fattens up the elites' pockets, what happens on the ground? Chaos, riots, rising crime, sanctuary cities collapsing under their own weight. It's not just bad policy. It's the point, okay? They enrich themselves while they're weakening America. That is their plan. But here's the twist. Trump's ICE enforcement is tearing this machine apart city by city. Every raid, every fugitive hauled off on a bus, every sanctuary neighborhood cleared out overnight. It's not just about removing criminals. It's about dismantling the infrastructure that keeps people like Ilhan Omar rich and untouchable. And so this is why the left is absolutely panicking, folks. That is why they're rioting. That is why the activists are in the streets. They know their gravy train is coming to an end. So here's the brutal truth, America. While Ilhan Omar hides 30 million, families across the country are struggling just to make rent. So while ICE agents are risking their lives in sanctuary cities, Ilhan Omar sits behind mansion walls built on backroom deals. And while elites are profiting off your pain, the only one that's standing between you and total collapse is President Donald J. Trump. Now, this is the choice. If Democrats regain power, the machine comes roaring back. That's a scary thought. The money laundering schemes continue. Sanctuary cities become untouchable, basically safe havens for criminals again. And you, the taxpayer, you get to foot the bill. But under Trump, we see the opposite. The walls go up, the deportation fleets roll in, the corruption gets exposed, and for the first time in a long time, America gets its own citizens first. All right. So the real question is, do you want leaders who profit off your pain, or do you want a president who puts your safety and sovereignty first? Like, share, and subscribe, because basically the mainstream media, they're not going to tell you this story. But together we can shine the light on the corruption. We can expose these liars and keep America on the path to law and order. YouTube thinks that you're really going to enjoy the video that just popped up on your screen right here. And I happen to agree. Guys, stay tuned and I'll see you on the other side.